The woman crying outside the farmhouse. Part 1. The Irish Banshee. My grandmother used to say there were sounds in rural Ireland you should never follow at night. Dogs barking in empty fields, voices calling your name from the road, and worst of all, a woman crying where no woman should be. When I was younger, I thought these stories were just all superstitions of Ireland, the kind that meant to scare kids into staying indoors after dark. I didn't think that anymore, because 3 years ago, on my uncle's farm outside Enniscorthy, I heard her, and I know why now people fear the Banshee. It started after my uncle died. Heart attack. It was quick and unexpected. Kind of death that leaves a family stunned, more than emotional at first. He'd lived alone on the farm ever since his wife died. Quiet man, hard worker, the type who trusted animals more than people. After the funeral, my mother asked if I could stay a few nights, look after the farmhouse while everything got sorted. Watch the place, feed the dogs, make sure nobody tried to steal machinery, all that kind of stuff. I agreed immediately. At the time, it even sounded peaceful. A few nights alone in the countryside, rain on the windows, no city noise. I arrived just before dark. The farmhouse sat at the end of a narrow barren surrounded by wet fields, twisted trees bent sideways from years of Atlantic wind. The nearest neighbour was nearly a mile away, and the sun went down. It felt isolated in a way I cannot properly describe. Not quite. Empty, like the whole landscape was holding its breath. The first night was normal enough. I made tea, watched television, fed the dogs. But everything changed around midnight. Both dogs suddenly started growling toward the back door. Low, uneasy, not barking, warning. I looked outside through the kitchen window. Nothing there except darkness and rain, blowing across the yard. Then the old dog backed away whining. That bothered me more than the growling, because he was never afraid of anything. Around 1 AM, I heard the crying. Faint at first. So faint, I thought it might be wind through the gutters. But then, it came again. A woman, sobbing somewhere across the farmhouse. Not loud, not screaming. Just broken. Heartbroken. The kind of crying that immediately makes your stomach drop. I froze in the sitting room listening. The dogs had completely gone silent. No growling now, no movement at all. Then the crying drifted closer, slowly moving across the side of the house, and mixed into it, I swear to God, I heard something in Irish. Something whispering, soft. Impossible to understand fully, but for one repeated word, and it was the word, come. Every instinct told me not to look outside, but I did anyway. I walked to the hallway, went to the window and pulled the curtain back slightly. At first I saw nothing, just rain, darkness, the reflection of the moon, and the room behind me. The lightning flashed across the fields, and for a second I saw her, standing beside the stone wall near the gate. A tall woman in pale grey dress, long black hair hanging over her face, completely still. Another flash of lightning, she was gone. But she was closer, much closer now. Now standing in the middle of the yard, and the crying had stopped. I stumbled backward immediately, heart hammering. I remember trying to tell myself it was a person, a traveller, someone drunk, anything rational. But deep down, I already knew. As no one walks lonely fields in the middle of a storm barefoot. And when I saw her face during the third flash, her eyes were completely black. The power went out. The entire farmhouse dropped into darkness. And outside, something started scratching slowly along the kitchen door. Dogs lost their minds, barking violently, throwing themselves backward across the floor. But they wouldn't go near the door itself. Then the crying came again, right outside now, closer than before, and underneath it a voice, soft, almost loving. Let me in. I grabbed the fireplace poker and backed in the hallway. The scratching stopped immediately. Silence, then 3 knocks, slow but heavy. Thud, thud, thud. I don't know why, but I looked through the small glass pane beside the door, and I wish I hadn't. Because she was standing inches away, her face tilted unnaturally sideways, black water running from her eyes like tears, skin pale as bone, and her mouth smiling too wide. Then she whispered something that made every hair on my body stand up. You should not have stayed here after the death. The dogs began screaming, not barking, actually screaming. And suddenly the woman outside turned her head sharply toward the fields behind the farmhouse, like she'd heard something or someone. For the first time, she looked afraid. Then she vanished. Not ran, not walked away, gone. 1 second standing there, the next, nothing. The power returned a few seconds later. The yard outside was empty. No footprints, no figure, nothing. Just rain, hammering against the windows. I didn't sleep that night. At sunrise, I drove into town and told an older man in the local shop what I had seen. The second I described the woman, his expression changed completely. Then he asked me one question. Did she cry before you saw her? I said yes. The old man crossed himself immediately, then quietly told me something I'll never forget. In Ireland, the Banshee does not come for the dead. He looked toward the rain outside the shop window. She comes for the next person who's going to die.